Okay. Assalamu alaikum. Let me see if I can adjust this so that you can see something other than the ceiling. No? There we go. Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. And I'm really excited to be here today in this Ramadan reflection for Lamppost. 1 minute. There we go. For Lamppost Education Initiative. Alhamdulillah, wallah, the Muslim Ummah today, what we really need is more initiatives like Lamppost that really bring healthy Islamic learning to Muslims everywhere. And alhamdulillah, thank you to Dr. Abdullah ibn Hamid Ali for inviting me and inviting all the other people, the very esteemed scholars and teachers who have been here already this month and who are going to be coming for the rest of the month. I am honored to share this spot with them and grateful to spend some time with all of you tonight reflecting on the Quran. Grateful to have even the opportunity to reflect on the Quran together. Alhamdulillah. Alaikum salam, everyone. All right, so Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Salatu salam ala khatam al-anbiya, Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi sahabi ajma'in. I am going to reflect tonight on Surah Al-Anfal, and we are now, I'm a little bit time zone challenged as far as what day it is, but we are definitely 1/3 in to Ramadan. And after this 1/3, we are all, I think we're there, we're in that spot. We know it's Ramadan. We're out of the first few days of caffeine withdrawal. And those of us who are reading the Quran regularly are deep inside the Quran in our ajza, inshallah. And by today you would have read Surah Al-Anfal, or at least begun it, because it's just at 9, the 9th part. And I think that the first 4 verses are very important for us as Muslims to reflect on often. And especially today, when in the world today we have so much around us that is distracting. And Ramadan and the fasting of Ramadan is here to remind us of our spiritual life, here to remind us of what it means to be a faithful Muslim believer. And subhanAllah, before I start, I just want to say that I've been marveling in the last couple of days, marveling at the miracle of Ramadan. How if we just think about it, if you just think about it, I know that maybe some of you are struggling with fasting. Maybe you have family members who are not supportive. But think about the billion people around the world. I know someone all alone in Chile fasting. I know there are people who are millions of people together in one city on top of each other, all of them fasting in parts of the Muslim world. If we think about that miracle by itself, that's powerful. It's a powerful sign of the greatness of this religion and the blessing to be part of it. And part of that is to be a believer. And so we are all fasting, these millions of Muslims, all of us together. We're fasting so that we can increase our taqwa. We're fasting in obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so if we go to Surah Al-Anfal and we look at these 4 verses, what we find is a very succinct discussion about what it means to be a believer. So I invite you today to join me on this reflection, to really sort of set aside just your brain. Okay, bring your brain, but bring along with your brain, bring your feelings and your emotions and your thoughts about what it means to be who you are and how religion interplays in your life, how our faith interplays in our life, how we we have so much talk about identity today, so much talk about identity. So let's really dig deep in the identity of being a believer. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is the beginning of the Surah Al-Anfal, for those of you who are just joining, begins with يَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الْأَنْفَالِ. They ask you, so I'm getting the English out here. They ask you about Al-Anfal. Al-Anfal is a word, Al-Ghanaim also it means in Arabic. And this is a word that in English we've sort of lost touch with. We don't really have this word so much in our culture. But what it means is the spoils of war, that which was considered very normal and normative that people would benefit from in war. So يَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الْأَنْفَالِ. So this has become now a question in this verse. Something's going on. And this verse was revealed during Badr. Ubadah ibn Samit tells us. It was revealed during Badr when the Muslims had disagreed about their the bounty that they were sort of gathering. And he says to the degree that even they became a little bit rude with one another. And his actual word is sa'at akhlaqina. So their character was their character and good behavior, good manners and good moral, this goodness of behavior between one another was disturbed. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الْأَنْفَالِ قُلْ الْأَنْفَالُ لِلَّهِ وَالرَّسُولِ. That this anfal, this stuff that you want, is for Allah and His Prophet. فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهِ وَأَصْلِحُوا ذَاتَ بَيْنِكُمْ. So have taqwa. Taqwa, be conscious of God, be aware of God, and fix, if I can use sort of English vernacular, or amend, if we use more formalized word, or a more formalized word, fix that which is between you. Amend that which is between you. Fix those relationships. وَأَطِيعُوا اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ, and obey God and His Prophet. إِن كُنْتُم مُؤْمِنِينَ. And here is the crux of this verse. In kuntum mu'minin, if you are indeed believers. Now we're going to have 3 more verses that discuss and define the word believer, al-mu'min, or actually believers, al-mu'minin. And we're going to circle back here in our discussion. We're going to circle back then to this verse. So we're going to come back to this, but before we leave it, I just want to summarize. We have four important points that are being made here in this verse. One is taqwa, to have, if when faced with, so the anfal here at that time is something that people desired and felt belonged to them. There was a sense of entitlement. We always, when we fight and when we argue and when we have problems in our communities or in our families or in our schools or in our businesses or wherever, very often it's because we have a sense of entitlement. I think I deserve this. I think I deserve that. And because of that entitlement, we can even be very rude to people. We can treat them badly or poorly because we believe that we are entitled to something better. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in this instance, in Badr, and we can extrapolate and think about our lives, is saying to the companions, Al-Anfal, this thing that you think you have a right to, lillahi wa li rasulihi, is for God and His Prophet. And really, everything we own and everything we are is for God, for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Jalla Jalaluhu, and His Prophet. And if we can think deeply about that, we're going to stop fighting. We're going to stop arguing. We're going to fix those relationships. And so knowing that these things are lillahi wa lirrasulihi, then fattaqullah, so taqwa, and to fix the relationship. This is really important, fixing relationships. And that's why we're going to circle back. The third one is to obey God. The fourth is to obey His Prophet. If in kuntum mu'minin. So if this is a question, let's all ask ourselves, how do I self-identify? Do I identify as a believer? Okay, so this is going to be a little quiz now. We all have, the world is filled with quizzes, personality quizzes, and until IQ tests and all sorts of quizzes that help us to know what kind of job we want to do and what kind of this we want to do, that help us to understand who we are as people. Well, now let's really look at these verses and ask ourselves, I self-identify as a believer. Inshallah, everyone here self-identifies as a believer. So in that, let's find out now. In kuntum mu'minin. Am I a believer? So now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the next verse, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. Verily, the believers, الَّذِينَ إِذَا are those who, الَّذِينَ إِذَا ذُكِرُ اللَّهُ وَجِلَتْ قُلُوبُهُم. Believers are those, if God is remembered, their hearts quake. Or let me see the traditional translation, their hearts become fearful. Wajilat is fazi'at or khawf. These are words that have to do with fear and awe. And so a sign of belief, and the Safwan al-Thawri talks about how this is what this really means, or as in practical terms, what this means is that the human being who is a believer may think, you know what, I want to do this sin, or I want to, I want to, I don't know, watch this movie that I shouldn't watch. And so the believer, their heart quakes within knowing that God is watching. So no, the decision is made not to watch the movie that I shouldn't watch. Or I want to, I'm going to have a fight with my mother-in-law and not speak to her. If a believer's heart will quake because we know God is watching. And so instead of going and spilling ugly words to a mother-in-law or to whoever, we hold those words back and instead say kind words, because as a believer, the heart recognizes that God is first before that relationship, before that sin. So any sin that we may think, I want to do this thing, or this or mistake that we want to do, the believer's heart will quake. Wajilat will quake, will feel. The believer's heart will feel. The believer's heart will feel, and in that feeling, there will be a recognition of the power of God, and a fear of disappointing God, a fear of disappointing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a fear of incurring the wrath of God. And so, if we can all now, in this sort of sense of quiz, think about ourselves. It's Ramadan. Maybe this month now, you've left behind some sins that you used to do. Maybe you have taken on good deeds that you weren't doing before. And so think about that now. Reflect on that sin that maybe you did before Ramadan. And in part of the tawbah, if your heart quakes to think about going back to that sin, then I congratulate you. That is a sign of a believer. Maybe you're in the middle of a sin now that you're struggling to get over, and you're afraid that you'll go back to it. But your heart, you know that God is watching. You know that you're weak. And in that weakness, you hope to be strong. Congratulations, you are a believer. Let's say you're doing a sin, though, and you're arrogantly insisting on it. Oh, why not? Big deal. Why does God care about my little self? Somebody said to me recently, what was it? She was making a decision not to fast one day in the next week because of her day that day would be busy and in the sun. And she said, oh, God doesn't want, does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah doesn't want things to be hard for us. Oh my God. Where is her heart? Where is the heart that is quaking and feeling God's presence and the insistence on fasting and the farud quality of fasting? Where is that heart? That heart was missing in that conversation. So maybe if you are a person who it's hard for you to fast and you're in a place where the day is long and maybe you have to work early in the morning and maybe you're really struggling, but you say, when you think, I don't want to fast, your heart says, no. This is farud. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows. Congratulations. You are a believer. إنما المؤمنون الذين إذا ذكر الله وجلت قلوبهم. So if you have a heart that moves, a heart that remembers God, when it remembers God, it knows and brings to the possibility of sin the remembrance and the knowledge of the greatness of God and fears God. We can ask ourselves, maybe want to push the button, because in today's sort of way of thinking about the world, we sort of don't like this word, fearing God, or being afraid. And I personally, and mostly when I talk about a relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I talk about love. That's my usual rhetoric. But let's think for a minute, what is the benefit of khawf al-qulub, of fear in the heart from God? There's a quote somewhere out there in the world, and I don't know where. I actually looked for it before coming today because I was hoping to come and tell you so-and-so said, because it's a quote that I heard in elementary school, and I hope maybe one of you knows who said it, and maybe I'm just making it up. And it's something like, you don't have to fear anyone but the one who doesn't fear God. I thought maybe it was Franklin Roosevelt, couldn't find it. Then I thought maybe it was JFK, couldn't find it, and so I gave up. But this concept of, the only one we need to fear is the one who doesn't fear God. This is a word that today we're kind of hesitant to talk about fearing God, but let's talk about it. God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Jalla Jalaluhu, created us. The benefit of having fear of God is having a life that is within the place of joyful faith. Because when we fear God, that nafs, that self that wants to sin, that self that wants to do something that is just for the self, says, whoa, wait a minute, I have to think about God. And so we don't sin. And in not sinning, we preserve our happiness. We preserve our relationships. We preserve our communities and our societies and our ummah. The less we sin as an ummah, the happier we are as a total ummah. And I'm sure if we only had the discussion today, if we only talked today about the answer of this question, what is the benefit of a heart that fears God? I hope that we could come up with a lot of different benefits. In fact, maybe that's something you'd like to take with you and think about. Now, I will footnote this. The heart, we can maybe use different language so we really understand the meaning here. And say instead, I like this word, the heart, the quaking of the heart. I like the idea of the heart that moves when we think about God, the knowledge and knowing that God is there, and the heart that moves. Okay, let's go to the next one. So now you have maybe sussed yourself out for quality number 1. Let's go to quality number 2. وَإِذَا تُلِيَتْ عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتُهُ زَادَتْهُمْ إِيمَانًا. So if his verse, let me see, I like to look at somebody else's translation. Translating the Quran is a very sensitive thing. And when His verses are recited to them, it increases them in faith. This is Ramadan, and you are maybe going to the mosque and praying Taraweeh and listening to the Imam recite verses. Now here we have a couple of things. One is we have those of you who understand Arabic. Those of us who understand Arabic, إِذَا تُلِيَتْ عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتُهُ زَادَتْهُمْ إِيمَانًا. This is really a blessing. I want you right now, if you are a person who understands Arabic, I want you to push the pause button and just deep inside, not for real on the video, I mean the metaphorical pause button. Push the metaphorical pause button and go deeply inside yourself and say, Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah that I understand Arabic enough so that إِذَا تُلِيَتْ عَلَيِّ, if I hear Quran recited, my iman can increase. What does that mean, to increase our iman in this case? The ear is connected to the heart. Now, I'm coming back to ear connected to the heart. Let's put this on the shelf a minute. Let's circle back to those who don't understand Arabic. Those millions and millions of Muslims in the world, actually many more Muslims in the world who are not Arab, who don't maybe understand Arabic, or whose Arabic is not as fluent as an Arab. Here we have to really say two things. One is that it's very important that as Muslims, we really make the intention to learn Arabic. I remember in my early days, I'm a convert, and I remember the struggle to learn Arabic and to understand the Quran. And I remember my frustration reading translations, because I would know that a translation is an interpretation through someone else's lens. وَبِالنَّعَمْ, alhamdulillah for translations. Sometimes I would put 3 or 4 translations in front of me to look at them and read them and try to understand, what is it saying? What is it saying? What is this Quran saying? And in learning Arabic, Arabic is a rich and nuanced language, so there's no such thing as I've conquered Arabic, I really know Arabic. But I remember the day when I was reading Quran and I was reading Quran and I understood. And I understood that page. Ya Allah, Ya Allah, Ya Allah. The feeling of gratitude and excitement to know that the words of God, this is God, Allah Azza wa Jal, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah, who created me, who created you, who created the mountains, who created the teeny tiny little ants, who created the butterfly, who created the really weird bug that was crawling on my coat today that was walking sideways, who created the heavens and the earth, this incredible horizon with the sun that rises and the sun that sets. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who created everything. Everything. These are the words of God. And in knowing Arabic, you understand it. So I'm here, for those of you who don't understand Arabic at all, this is Ramadan. Make your intention that after this month, you are going to sign up for a class. You are going to find a tutor. You're going to find a way to learn Arabic. Remember, there are, subhanAllah, the immigrants that come to the United States from all over the world, or the UK or wherever they go, and they want to study in medical school, for example, or engineering. Ya Allah, they learn English. They learn English so they could study. They learn English for their dunya. And they learn it really well. MashaAllah, they learn it really, really well. طيب, shouldn't we learn Arabic for something far more valuable than any subject at any university? Shouldn't we learn, and even just, I like to say, even just liturgical language, although we could have a discussion about whether that's an appropriate word to use here, but just to make it simple for everyone. If you're a convert, if your ethnic background is not Arabic, I really implore you to work on learning enough Arabic so that you can taste this verse, وَإِذَا تُلِيَتْ عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتُهُ زَادَتْهُمْ إِيمَانًا. Is that if the verses are recited to you, that your faith will increase. Now, it's very true that even not understanding the words, just listening to the verses of Quran, your iman can increase. I've known people, subhanallah, I've known of people who came to Islam knowing very little about Islam, but having heard the Quran in Arabic, not understanding it, but their heart opened because of the beauty. So absolutely, the Quran is the words of God. There are layers of miracles. The Mufassirin, alaykum salam, the Mufassirin, when they're talking about, when the Mufassirin are talking, وَإِذَا تُلِيَتْ عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتُهُ زَادَتْهُمْ إِيمَانًا, they're saying a couple of things. One of the things that they say, the Mufassirin are those who explain Quran. They're saying that this tadabbur, that this recitation of Quran is a connection to the heart. That there's something in the ear and the heart that comes together, the ear and the heart. This sense of hearing is part of the work of the heart. And so when we, and subhanAllah, the hearing of the meanings is what they're talking about here. And, or it could be the tajweed of it. That what could happen is in listening, the believer in listening to the Quran and understanding it can be someone who something that we didn't know, we learn. Something that we had forgotten, we're reminded of. Or the heart is encouraged to good deeds. Or the heart maybe is pulled back from distance into closeness. So, if you have ever heard the Quran and felt your faith increase, if you've ever heard the Quran and learned something new, subhanAllah, the Quran is the miracle book that every time you hear it, every time you read it, every time you learn something new, hear something new, something changes for me. For me, after 33 years of the Quran, Surah Al-Anfal, how many times have it was this month of Ramadan, knowing that I was going to do this, and when I read it, I was like, you know what, I want to talk about this. These 4 verses have really affected me right now in a new way than they affected me the last time I read it. So the Quran is, every time we read it again. So if that has happened to you, I give you the good news that you have the second sign of being of a believer. إِذَا تُلِيَتْ عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتُهُ زَادَتْهُمْ إِيمَانًا, that your faith has increased. Alhamdulillah, you have now 2 signs of being a believer. And the third one. So here we have إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. Okay, so we're starting back in this verse. إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ إِذَا ذُكِرَ اللَّهُ وَجِلَتْ قُلُوبُهُم. So this is the first one, the moving of the heart, the quaking of the heart. وَإِذَا تُلِيَتْ عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتُهُ زَادَتْهُمْ إِيمَانًا. And so if we hear the verses of the Quran, our faith is increased. Now, the third one. وَعَلَى رَبِّهِمْ يَتَوَكَّلُونَ. And on their Lord, and they put their trust in their Lord. And how did they see? And upon their Lord they rely, is how my translation here on the right just translates that. Do you trust Allah? Do you? Do you trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Or are you in a constant state of whining? Do you trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or do you see negativity in every aspect of your life? Do you trust Allah's plan for you? Do you trust that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, do you have husn al-zan billah? Do you think well of God? Do you trust that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take care of you? If you do, then you have the third sign of belief. Alhamdulillah. And the fourth, الَّذِينَ يُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ. These are 2 together, the fourth and the fifth. Those who establish prayer, and from what we have provided for them, they spend. Now this verse, excuse me, يُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ, يُقِيمُون and يُنْفِقُون, these 2 words, they're mudari'. The grammar of them is present. And you say, why is it present? It's present because it indicates takrar. It indicates repetition. It indicates repetition. So if you are a believer, then you don't just get up and pray once. You are committed to prayer. You are committed to prayer. You don't miss prayers. يقيمون الصلاة. You pray in the Fajr, you pray Dhuhr, you pray Asr, you pray Maghrib, you pray Isha, and again tomorrow you get up again and you pray Fajr, Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha. And again tomorrow, and 10 years from now you do the same. And 15 years from now you do the same. And you don't get tired or bored of this prayer. That the prayer is your anchor. The prayer is your what you hold on to. And even when you're not feeling it, you pray. And when you're feeling it, you're grateful. But يقيمون الصلاة. If you are a person who does not miss prayer, and you repeat it and repeatedly don't miss prayer, count yourself as a believer. And if you are repeatedly missing prayers, know that you have something to work on. And let that be your tawbah of Ramadan. We as an ummah have a prayer crisis. We are in crisis, ya jama'ah. That we are an ummah of salah. It is a rikn of our religion, a pillar of our religion. If your prayer is fine and your family is not, go to them and see what you can do. Encourage them with love and joy and excitement. If your prayer isn't so great, fix it. Fix it. How am I going to fix it? Fix it. How did you save money? How did you figure out how to get groceries in your refrigerator? How did you figure out to pay your phone bill? You're smart. I know you can do this. You are a smart person. Do you know how to drive a car? MashaAllah. You're going to be able to figure out how to get your prayers in order. Do you know how to go to the kitchen and make yourself a coffee? No? Do you know how to go to Starbucks and buy one, or Caribou or whatever? Caribou, to buy one? Caribou is a Minnesota company. Then you can figure it out. You can take a class, you can watch lectures, you can find friends, you can do a million things. But basically, my message is to you, يُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةِ. Those who repeat their prayer, you can figure this out. I have faith in you. You're smart. You can do this. وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ. And of what we have given them, they spend again, and they spend again, and they spend again. And this is Ramadan. Be generous. Give to this Lamppost Educational Initiative. Give to Rabata. Look at all the people speaking. Find what they're promoting. Give to them. Wallah, there's enough money to go around. Wallah, we don't have to be worried that there's not going to be enough. There's enough. Give. Yunfiqun. Repeated. Now, if you are stingy, I'm so sorry, because this is a difficult quality to get over. But let me encourage you to get over it, because stinginess is a stinginess not only of the pocketbook, but of the heart. So these two signs, now we've been testing ourselves, right? So we have two more things to test ourselves. Ask yourself, how's my prayer? Should we go back and do the first one again? All right, so the first one was, I forgot what the first one was. إِذَا ذُكِرَ اللَّهَ. Okay, so if you're reminded of, وَجِلَتْ قُلُوبُهُم. So if you're reminded of God, does your heart quake? Alhamdulillah, you're a believer. Second one. وَإِذَا تُلِيَتْ عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتُ زَادَتْهُمْ إِيمَانًا. Have you heard the Quran and felt your iman increase? Two signs of belief. Congratulations. Alhamdulillah. Third, وَعَلَى رَبِّهِمْ يَتَوَكَّلُونَ, I think is what it was, right? I don't know. What was it? I lost my place. I apologize. Yep, that's what it was. So the third one is, do you trust God? Only you know that. Only you can answer that question honestly. Do you trust God? Do you trust God? Okay. Congratulations. That's 3. Fourth, are you praying? No excuse. There's no excuse. If you know how to get up in the morning and go to work, you know how to get up in the morning and pray Fajr. Come on. If you know how to have dinner before you go to bed, you know how to pray Isha. If you know how to go to lunch, take a break and go have lunch. Wallah, in my doctoral program, we have sometimes I'm done with the class part. We had 12-hour days. And of course, for me, and everybody knew what I was praying, and everyone knew, but if you're shy, it's okay. Get out and go to the bathroom, do whatever, but make it happen. Make it happen. You can do this. I trust you. You are of the ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You can do this. I know you can. Figure it out. Have you already figured out? Alhamdulillah, that's the fourth sign of your belief. And the fifth one, are you generous? How many campaigns have you given to this month? How many people have you given to? Are you worried, oh no, if I give, I won't have enough money? You're going to have enough money. You're going to have enough money. Give generously. Open up a little house for yourself in Jannah. Give. The people who give are the best people to be around. Wallahi. I was talking to someone today, and I said, I was saying, listen, there's nothing worse than a stingy man. Or stingy woman, of course, too, but we were women. A man who spends his money and saves nothing, maybe you might get a little nervous, but alhamdulillah for the generous man. Alhamdulillah for the generous man, because who's generous with money is generous of spirit and generous of heart. And who's stingy and hard, Ya Latif, how are they opening up their heart to the Ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, much less other people? The Ummah of Muhammad, all the people. Be generous, give. Ask yourself, only you know, are you stingy? Are you stingy? Are you like, I can't give money? Give! What are you waiting for? What are you saving it for? What in the world are you saving this money for? And whatever, you have a big long answer, I know. Miss Sani, give. For God's sakes, it's Ramadan. Give. Support our future. Wallahi, we are strong and powerful. Every other community out there has come together, not every other community, but there are other communities out there that came together in strength, financial strength, and we have more of a right to have financial strength because we are people who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said to us that a sign of our belief is that for what Allah has given us, yunfiqun. And by the way, Allah gave it to you, yani, big deal. You think you earned it? You think, oh, mashallah, I'm so smart. Look at me, I go to work. Look at me, I studied. Allah gave it to you. Alhamdulillah. Give. Okay, so those are how many? There are 5, right? Those are the 5 signs of a believer. So let's circle around now. Ask yourself, do I have these 5 signs? Okay. If you have these 5 signs, أولئك هم المؤمنون. أولئك هم المؤمنون حقا. These are truly believers. Allah, congratulations. If you passed my little quiz, this little quiz of these 5, then you are a believer in truth. For real. Alhamdulillah, what a blessing. What do you get? Okay, what do I get, right? Because we always want to know what we get. لهم درجات عند ربهم. So you get to go, you have a higher level. Like, I want to ask you something. In life, if you go to university, are you going to be like, hey, you know what? I don't want an A. You know what? I just want a C. Are you going to do that? No, you're not going to do that. You're going to be like, no, I want to be the top of my class. If you go to work and you're like, listen, don't give me the highest salary. I just want a medium salary. Are you going to say, I want the top salary in my pay scale? Of course, because that's a human being. Choose the top rank with Allah. Be of the mu'minina haqqa. Choose the top ranks. That's one thing. And before that, you get maghfirah, which is forgiveness, and I lost it. What is rizqun kareem, and great provision, and great blessings from your Lord. Trust. This is the month. If you did not pass, only you know. If you did not pass these 5 tests, it's okay. You can do it. Are you fasting? You can do this. This is your month. This is your time. This is your opportunity. This is when you're going to do it. You are going to leave this month, inshallah, going from the level of Muslim, level A, elementary school, up to a believer, inshallah. Enter college. Inshallah, with all these 5 signs of a true believer, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala open the door for all of us to be true believers. I am Tamara Gray. I didn't introduce myself in the beginning. I'm Tamara Gray, and I am the founding director of Rabata. And we also work in educational projects and promoting positive cultural change through creative educational experiences. I really appreciate Lamppost Education Initiative inviting me to share with you tonight. I really enjoyed being with you. I always enjoy the opportunity to talk about the Quran. and to speak with believers about things that we all can do to improve our world and to improve ourselves. So congratulations, this is Ramadan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you and take care of you and make you one who represents all 5 signs. Why? Circle back. I promise I'm going to circle back to that first verse. We know that the people of Badr were believers. And yet, Ubadah ibn Samit is telling us that they had a little rift between them. And it was through, in this verse, وَأَصْلِحُوا ذَاتَ بَيْنَكُمْ. So now we also need to take these signs of belief, be believers, مؤمنون حقا, and create peace between ourselves and create beautiful communities between ourselves and create a beautiful experience between ourselves where we live in the shelter of one another and support one another and uplift one another. And in this way, we will all leave Ramadan as a better ummah, as a stronger ummah, as an ummah that has that has begun to build a great legacy for our children, our grandchildren, and begun to build for our own selves our place in Jannah, inshallah. Congratulations on Ramadan. Thank you again, Lamppost Education Initiative, for having me on. And remember to donate generously to Lamppost Education Initiative. And remember to just be plain old darn generous and get those prayers in. Yalla, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.